now with one of the UK's most famous double acts, Ice Dance champions, Torvill and Christopher Dean. Welcome to the show. You returned to Sarajevo this year to repeat your Olympic gold medal success with Bolero. How did it feel after doing it? How were the knees, the hips, the hamstrings?
It was quite a daunting task to have to get ready to go back and do the Bolero as close as we had done 30 years ago. But at the same time, it was something that we really wanted to do, and we wouldn't have missed it for the world. But waiting to go out there on the night, it was almost, we were pacing up and down as if it was the Olympics. You know, we just felt in that mode again.
Still to be able to do it 30 years down the road, you know, from whence we did it, and we wanted to go back and try and recreate as close to that as we could. And that's the pressure that we sort of put on ourselves, that we wanted to go back, because there were actually people there that were there 30 years ago. There was a girl there that was 36, and she'd been the flower girl on the night as a 6-year-old, picking up flowers afterwards. And she was so passionate about us going back, because obviously it was a time when they were at the forefront. You know, that you imagine the Olympics in your city. We had that in 2012 in London. So it was a big time for them. And I think it sort of rekindled those spirits, because they've gone through such a bad time over the last 30 years. What were the ratings like? I mean, in England, or Britain, sorry, the ratings were huge, weren't they, for that? Everyone was tuned in.
It was like 24
million, but did the rest of the world tune in as well? Was it? Yeah, I mean, you forget that it is a global event, and that's really what launched us, really. It was the Olympics, that Bolero, that moment in time that opened so many doors for us. Has there ever been a time when you thought, oh, not that tune again? You know, the day after, we wanted to move on. We're on to the next thing, because that's how our careers have been, and we always wanted to recreate something new. Yeah, that routine's over. That routine's over.
Next season's coming up. So.
But we soon realised that when people are coming to watch you off the back of that, they actually want to see Bolero. And over the last 30 years, it's become a tune that's really close to our heart now, obviously. You've got perfect points. How much was that down to that music choice? I mean, obviously the ice skater was there, but it was a great choice, wasn't it?
I think it was something so different in the world of competition, and because we were current world champions, we wanted to sort of lead the way and just take ice dancing in another direction. And it was the music that drove the choreography and the feeling between the two of us and the intimacy of it. But it was a combination of music, choreography, the skating technique, and indeed the costume, all bringing it together.
And I don't think we realised what the impact was. We still get people, 30 years down the road coming up and saying, I remember I was sat down with my mom watching it, and we were, it was this time, and I remember this playing and watching you on TV. So, it resonated somewhere. Yeah, it is one of those things. I remember where I was when I watched that. Yeah. This is the book. All about it, all about your story. You're also going on tour with this, is that right?
We are indeed. We've never done this before, but we're going into theatres without the skates, which will seem a little strange. But we thought it'd be really nice to sort of elaborate on the stories in the books, our journey that we took to get to the Olympics and beyond that, and be in an intimate setting and meet the people that have supported us over the years.
Sort of bring the words to life. Will there be a Q&A then? Can people ask you questions?
Yeah. At some part in the show there will be Q&A, so that'll be fun.
Do a little dancing, singing. You might see us even skating out there in some fashion. But would it be weird to keep having a Q&A? Because I think one of the things always about the two of you is you've kept your private lives incredibly private. So, people know the partnership, but that's it.
Yeah, I think as we've got older, we're more comfortable with talking about certain things that have happened in our lives. And the last time we wrote an autobiography was 20 years ago. And since then we've had families, we retired for 6 years, and we came back with Dancing on Ice.
Yeah.
So a lot's happened, and we feel in a good place to talk about all of those things.
What's your favourite bit of Dancing on Ice? The same as all of ours. Todd Carty.
You do all that work.
Was it Todd Carty disappearing off? It's a TV moment that will keep being repeated, I'm sure. It was brilliant, wasn't it? No, it was brilliant. And we choreographed it, that we said, we want you to sort of stumble off, and it'll look like you're acting, but sort of stumble off and go into backstage and we saw halfway out that that stumble was real and it was getting bigger and rocking, and then suddenly he's horizontal and all you see is his head as he disappears into the back. It was classic.
Yeah, well, he's such a nice guy as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
But dancing on ice is no longer.
Yeah, no, it's 30 years of our career since we won the Olympics, and this year, so it's a big year for us, and we felt like it's full circle for us, and from our point of view, it was time to sort of slow down a little bit. So we said that, we'd like to step back from it a little bit, and ITV, and so if you're not doing it, we don't want to make it without you. So that's where it is at the moment.
What is moving away from that and back to the Olympic style ice dancing, what is the state of British ice dancing at the moment? Have we got anyone coming through at the moment?
We've had a couple that did quite well in the Olympics this year, didn't we, for Great Britain?
The World Championships, yeah.
And in the World Championships. But I think there's not a lot following on from that. And people ask us, what's happening, and it's hard to know, isn't it, really? There are programs in
There's
place.
a correlation between success and how much money you put into the sport. We've seen that with a lot of the British sports in the 2012 Olympics, that money went into the sport, the infrastructure, and that's what needs to happen more with figure skating as well.
Looking, back in 1980, you got a huge sum of money, allegedly £42,000 to become full-time ice dancers. Back then, that's serious money.
That was over 4 years.
Yeah. But for that level now, then I guess the investment isn't there.
Not to the degree, not for the infrastructure, everything that goes into making a top-line athlete now is so much more encompassing that needs to happen, and they don't necessarily have that finance. It's that chicken and egg. Do you get the success that brings the money, or do you put the money in to bring the success? That's where we're fighting at the moment.
All right, well, listen, great to talk to you both. Yeah. Now, after the break, Food Writer James Ramsden will be live in the traditional lunchbox. But first, here's how you can enter our brunch competition.